So I finished Wayblazer Dämmerung, and it's probably the worst of the usually titles that I've read, but there's a lot of fun parts in it, so consider like the whole experience like enjoying your cruise even though you had like a major seasickness half the time. Or I guess the more classic instance, like, oh, if your wife or your sister or one of your friends was like pregnant before and they want a second kid, and like, why do you want a second kid after all the shit you complained about in the first one? Like, no, I want another one's like, or whatever. If I end up making a tier list, then I'll go a little crazy with it, considering I think I read all of these Shelley titles that were like translated so far. But it won't be in this video because this video is already gonna be super fucking long. I assume it's gonna be like 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Holy shit. Wayblazer, which I think isn't even what it's called in Japanese or Chinese, but it felt more like one of those like isekai titles. Not the stupidly long ones that are like 3 sentences, but something more like 11 Eyes, where it has like a sentence on it as a descriptor, but if it ever got on Steam, right, it would just be called 11 Eyes. Basically, they went with something more like snappy or catchy instead. Anyway, Wayblazer is this prequel to Alchemy Meister or Kamidori. Probably the best game out of the translated bunch, mainly due to the great game loop. It's like the Atelier games or like My Academia, except you also manage to shop and you pay rent. Personally, I like Castle Meister more, but it was more due to the plot than anything else. Wayblazer can be split into 3 parts. I'll go through it more in depth later, but I'm just covering a lot of things fast first. The first part is the tutorial section, the setup, that gets handled in like less than half an hour. I think it's like 10 minutes. The main character is called Mark, and he's a forager, which is basically just a hunter/gatherer that sells all his materials. He's working with his buddy Ruili and happens to save a new character called Sophia from these wolves when she was trying to reach the town that Mark lives in. She just wants to sell her shit, right? But getting to the town, you see a lot of shit was wrecked, and it's basically the Royal Knights ransacked all of the stuff that they had and all the supplies. They needed supplies, which they didn't, but they're assholes. And apparently they have to pay like 70% of their stuff as taxes, so Mark decides to travel to all the other towns to see if all of them are like going through the same shit as his own towns. Like, alright, is it just as bad as everything else? Second section is basically the open world part, and it'll take like 80% of the game, and I'll talk a lot of shit about it. And the last part is when you go through like most of the open world stuff, made your choices, and then like half the time were pointless in the sense that it's either very all or nothing. I'll get to that later as well. It's just gonna be a lot of nagging. So the last part is like 90% plot. There's some extra maps, and one is actually rather large, and I got lost in it for quite a bit. Though really a lot of that was me taking all the loot that it has, because it has a decent amount of stuff in there, at least for your first run. It was all over the place, right? Depending on your choices, it's split into 4 routes, though technically it's really only like 3. 2 are bad at things that are almost like carbon copies, or rather one was just like an expanded version of the other one. The 2 good routes are split between one that leads to Alchemy Meister and the other one where it's like, hey, it's a what if scenario where most of the things actually worked out fine, nothing actually snagged. It's like, hey, new king, everything's working fine. The gameplay is reminiscent to some like Final Fantasy 1 or 2. I think 3 was when like the job system was introduced, since like it's not in here. Basically you have your units on the right and you just bash the shit out of the things on the left until they die. There's no speed stat, and it's all based on this wait time that varies between the type of weapons or skills you're using. Most of the skills actually look pretty cool here and there, but there's an option to disable it to speed things up, and with how much time they expect you to grind later on, holy shit, thank you. Though really this was like a standard on like all of the usually titles anyway, from what I remember, it just sucked without it. The thing is, the system becomes kind of shit just from a couple of things. Each character has 2 types of weapons, so if we use like the main character as an example, you can use swords and bows, and you can swap between different swords and bows, and they all have their own like wait time, but the real reason is to swap for elements that hit like the mob's weaknesses. And you'd think that like after a while that'd be a lot less unnecessary. It's like, well, this bow with fire with like 20 attack is way more shit than this bow with plus 40. It's like, no, the plus 20 is still probably better. Alongside, you can change a skill that you want to use, and you're going to do that a lot, especially if you're using like the mage or something, and your item that eventually will just become like a default revival item if you skip grinding like I did. I was basically getting one shot at every boss at the final stretch, like holy shit. It's my fault, but I didn't want to spend like 2 hours grinding. The downside is you can't actually swap armor at all, or your like secondary piece of armor, or even your accessory. And the second pieces are like your hats or shoes or shield or whatever. You can only use one, and honestly I use the shield more often than not because hey, it gave me iron shield or iron wall, I think is what it's called, which has like a 30% chance to block everything and you just take 1 damage, which was great. And you think that can't be a huge problem, but in certain instances where you're just royally fucked because of it, like, hey, I have a fire armor, and out of nowhere it comes out a boss with like water. It's like, holy shit, I'm dead. I'm getting one shot no matter what. You might as well just restart it, or you're using up a ton of your items and wasting a lot of your money for no reason. And they also have this function where you can revive your whole party at like full power for like half of your money. I feel like the game is hugely imbalanced just because this feature is in here. The other reason is because your healer's on crack. Your basic heal basically fills up your HP bar to full. So the only time you have difficulty is either like you're under geared or you're under leveled, which you probably will be unless you never turn that option to skip random encounters off, because it's like every 6 steps it's a new random encounter. But really, turning that option is probably the best outcome. Enemies do scale with you, but they also have like a level cap, and I think I read somewhere that it can get up to like plus 13 or plus 15 levels. Anyways, your gear will be able to carry you right up to the final stretch. Technically, you can go around doing stuff without buying any gear at all until like level 15, and then you get like, holy shit, you're dying. Because the name of the game is just maxing out defense. You only get like one character that can lower like enemies' attack power, but it costs a decent amount of MP to do it. And I think the only other unit that has like a debuff like that, you have to be like level 40 or something, and it's only for one unit. There was some units that I assumed would work like EO or Kisnil or like I think it's Kisnil or like Uella, where you go all in with evasion, but that's usually like a late game strat, and it's just more viable to go full defense the whole time in this game at least. And then, I tried a bit really late game. It was like, hey, maybe I'll try it out. And it's one of those things like, it kind of works, but also you have to hope that you always freaking dodge because you can't just save scum like in the other games. So in the end, turning on the option to skip random encounters and forcing like 10 to 20 runs when you don't have a mission or you're like by the healing feathers to fully like heal you, that's how you do it. There were times where I just got wasted on an hour trying to get like a rare drop because it was going to be a weapon. It almost always ended up being freaking useless or a piece of shit, except for like 2 times by the end. Even if you grind it for a bit like I did for drops, you're still going to be like level 30 to maybe 32 by the finale of the one route you're doing, right? When all these bosses are like low level 40s or 41 or 42, it's like, holy shit, what's happening? I think it'd be fine if you grind to like level 35 or 36 with the best armor you can get at the time. I think at that point, it wouldn't fuck you up so much. But I didn't give a shit and went like peasant mode with all my level 30s and lost a good chunk of money on my first run because I kept reviving my parts. Like, fuck you, I'm still gonna win. I'm pretty sure the idea was that there was this huge map that you're forced to go through near the end, and it's like 4 floors and it's decently wide, and there's like a lot of healing stations along the way. And I think the purpose of that was like, hey, you're gonna get lost and you're just gonna naturally grind because you can't skip any battles, and you'd be forced to level like 5 times, and that's where all your levels would come from. Except I didn't do that. In the new game plus section, the last boss ended up being like 20 levels over me. It's like, holy shit, how much did I skip grinding? And it's my fault because the preliminary bosses were already like 10 levels over me anyway. It's like, hey, this is your indication that you should be grinding. And I got hit by like a lot of one-shots, but with the right type of gear and the right accessories and whatever you're doing, you can like get over it. And like I did, it was not that hard. Except for the last preliminary boss was a piece of shit that was just beating the shit out of me, and I had to use like the new game plus character to actually win that one. Like, I'd say it was harder than the actual finale fight as well. Like, holy crap. Anyways, I spent a couple hours and got my part to 50, thinking this would probably be enough to eke out a win, and it did. Or for the final, like, New Game Plus boss. And it did. It actually wasn't all that bad, so those extra 10 levels helped a lot. The funny thing is, I checked the stat. You can check your enemy stats, and this asshole was level 60 before. After level up 10 times, he won 65. It's like, can you not level up, asshole? This is like some Final Fantasy 8 shit. It's like, can you not? I also forgot to mention the more important function they never implemented. You can't swap characters mid-fight, and it's retarded. Each character has passives that make them better for certain fights or for like fighting certain units, right? It's not huge, it's like a 20% damage boost, but there's cases that like, oh yeah, that enemy completely negates my elf because he's blocking wind, and without wind damage or electric damage, my elf is shit. Can you swap? It's like, no, you cannot swap. Or sometimes the spear comes out and the spear like blocks all like physical things. Like, hey, all right, I need a second mage. Like, well, too fucking bad. Why do you have a team of like 4 physical fighters and 1 mage? It's your fault. But to be fair, the game has like barely any of those compared to the other titles. It's like, what if like randomly a fight happens where they use like more magic damage? Well, too bad, get fucking nuked anyway, because why did you have most of your team being more like physical defense people? Swapping units have been a thing for like a lot of their games. It just took extra steps. Like, you had to go to a camp and then swap out characters like that way. But it's like, it was there. Like, I spent time thinking like, am I just blind? There probably has to be an option, and I just never found one. Like, holy shit, even it was like 2002 or something with fucking Final Fantasy X that you could swap and not even take a turn. It's like, this was like, no, fuck you. Use your team that you set up before, and that's it. In the end, your defense stat is king in this game. I think a lot of things would probably be balanced a lot better if the healer didn't heal so damn much, because either you tanking everything or you just fucking die. Like, I think there's some weird math that's being used where if your defense is over their attack, they do like no damage, but if their attack is over what you can block, it scales differently depending on your level. So it's like, hey, are you 7 levels above me? Well, I can just ignore all your defense, and that's how it's one-shotting me. I'm not really sure, but I think that's how it's working. Because, you know, just like with the final new game thing where it's like, hey, 20 levels, I was getting completely nuked. All right, now I'm only like 10 levels. Actually, I was 15. I'm no longer nuked anymore. It's like, okay, I barely gained any defense. And like how your stat scale is also kind of weird, where going from like level 1 to 30 gets your HP from like 550 or something to 1100, but then the next 20 levels bump you up all the way to 2200. It's like, okay, it scales higher. And then there's one character with like subpar HP, other characters have like 2k, and it went over to like 4.5k or something. Like, holy shit. And you think like, okay, yeah, I level up 20 more times, maybe my defense stats are really raised up. But apparently this one character I checked got an extra 10 defense in those fucking like 15 levels or something. Like, what the hell happened? Why am I blocking so much more damage with just 10 more defense? And I'm pretty sure it's just because of the level. In the previous section, I mentioned that as long as you have like the latest armor, you're more or less golden for a good chunk of the game. Problem is that until you're like level 20, you're always damn poor, unless you know of a couple like good mining locations. And even then, you're gonna have to invest on some like better picks to do it for. And when you're set, you can make like 10 to 20k in a fast burst, like I think it's like every 30 seconds or something, instead of like 1000 before. That's like, holy, you're always poor. So when you're set with all the picks, you can be like 10 to 20k in like fast bursts. I don't know how, maybe it's like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, something like that. Until then, you're always fucking poor because it's the first game where you have to buy shit from stores. Rhapsody God didn't really have currency. Alchemeister had such a good gaming loop that most of your money's used for like rent and stuff. Everything else is like, hey, you acquire items, you create items, and then you use it for yourself. And then, hey, if you want to create more of those armors to sell, you can make money that way. But otherwise, you already have the armor that you needed. And then there was like Castlemeister, where currency was mainly used to refine your own weapons because everything else you crafted yourself. In this game, you're classified as like a forager. You get the materials and you sell them off to stores for like shit money, right? Now there's all these materials that you want to sell because the shops need them to make like new items that are better for you, that will like unlock better gear, and they have to tell you what's needed. And it's like, all right, it's not that bad, but you don't get any discounts for it. So you gain like 1000 golds. Hey, I gained for selling all these materials, right? Then they have a goal to ask you for like, hey, now it's 24,000 for this armor. It's like, I just gave you the fucking material for this armor. How the hell did you 24 times the cost of this? And these prices actually keep going up, but it's the most egregious at the start where you make almost nothing. Like even at the end, I think an armor is like 80k, so it's 4 times, but you're making like 20 times the amount. You're just like, alright, it's not that bad anymore. And this is all because it makes sense with the plot. Everybody's struggling and the people are dying from starvation. Everybody's like getting a 70% taxes shit. And these assholes randomly steal your shit as well because these knights are like, well, we need more materials or we need more things to keep our soldiers going and stuff like that. And it's like that thing in Fallout 4 where it made sense to be encumbered by holding like a ton of different shit that's useless for you. But it's like, hey, everything has weight on it, right? And anybody I knew that played it, like I don't play those things, right? But they're always like, yeah, this is logical and it makes sense, but it was not fun. This is fucking stupid. And they always have like a mod to put in there to ignore that. And they're like, yeah, this is such a better time. And it's like, I think that's the same thing with this. Is like, yeah, I get why everything costs so fucking much and you make no money, but I don't want to spend 2 hours grinding on this shit. This is annoying. I didn't mention it before, but apparently the game wasn't well received when it was first released, and there are changes here and there to make it less shit. There's only 3 that I remember where like, hey, the option to disable the random encounters where they're basically fighting like every 5 steps or 6 steps was annoying. And then there was like a shit ton of H-teams that got unlocked after specific events that you can read in the title screen because it was all like an all ages thing before this. And like a lot of these shilly things, like, yeah, I like the game loop. I like some of the plot. I actually like Castlemeister a lot, right? But some of the plot, but a lot of things are like, I need the little porn scene in the end, like, hey, it's some kind of like, it's part of the game loop, I guess, is the best way to explain it. And then like after all that, they added something that was like, it gives you a little notice like, hey, you should be at this level before taking this mission in like the open world section, right? Because for some reason they didn't think of that. And they could have like a random player like, hey, I like this town, I'm gonna do more missions this town. And like, I finished this one and I could beat it, and it was like a level 6, but you don't know about it, right? The next one's like level 13 and you just don't know about it. You're just fucked. Because after you take the mission, you can't just say, I don't want to take this mission anymore, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like, no, you have to do this mission. So then you have to grind a lot to do that, or like reload to a different save. And now they'll tell you like, hey, this one is like level 13. You think about it. Do you want to go or do you want to like leave? And you can just leave. There was actually one where I was even at the right level, but it was still just like not a balanced level at all. And I wasn't even like that badly off because all I needed to do was like equip these rare armor drops that I got and I just never used because like, oh, this reduces my agility. And I thought agility was like movement speed, but it wasn't. And it's like, all right, now I can survive for the most part. So the dumb thing of like, oh, in that fight, it's like, okay, I'm finally not dying on one shot in the melee attacks. But then I just get one shot with the magic attacks. Like, oh, this is ass. And I was too broke to like buy these water damage accessories where it lowers by like 30%. But you also had to farm like the drops to sell to the shop so then I could buy it. And I just brute forced it. It's like, hey, if one of my guys die, I'm just gonna revive them, and that's it, right? But imagine the place that didn't go to like one of the towns that gives you a mage, because randomly monsters on this one event do not take damage unless you're doing spells against them. It's like you just have to turn off random counters and go straight for the boss. And there was also like this one encounter where you had to fight like some units and the win condition is beating them before they run off and alert the rest of the encampment, otherwise you game over. But these assholes were running like 2 or 3 turns and it was just before I bought like equipment, so I had to swap my units around to like all my heavy hitters, and it ended up being one of the harder missions for a good while. The game balance is really weird where sometimes you have to do a mission that has like a recommendation like, oh, you have to be level 25, but then the next one's like, oh, level 21. It's like, what the fuck happened? Why is it lower? And then there's these events where it's just a combat scene for some reason, and these don't get a level recommendation at all, and sometimes you just get totally fucked. So the whole plan is to never save until the fight is over. There's 2 specifically where the enemy will power up and it completely destroy you, even with the best gear, just because you're just under leveled. It's one of those glaring instances where they're doing like 1 damage to you, and then they power up, and now they're doing like 3,000 damage to you. It's like, what the fuck happened? And I think one of them, I just used the party revive things, like keep reviving. The problem with the open world is there's barely like any checking of what units you have in your party. So in like Labyrinth Meister, there's a section where you can go to like one dungeon or the other one, and they'll add extra like dialogue to the units that you picked for the first dungeon on the second dungeon. It made sense. That isn't the case in this game. There are times where one of the characters like, oh man, if we had an artisan, we could have asked their opinion for this thing. And I'm like, Ludensterg is right there. He's been in my party for 30 hours grinding. What the fuck are you talking about? And that's kind of a thing for a good half or more of each town. Outside of like Mark, the protagonist, his friend like Ruili, and the unit of that town you're interacting with, nobody else exists for those events. Eventually they show up, but even then it's units from like the neighboring towns. Like I don't remember if Alvina even interacted with any party member outside of like Mark and Ruili. And it's the same for like Erness as well. Charlotte the mage gets a couple. Like Sophia the healer is also probably around more often than the other ones, because like, hey, she was there from like level 1, but even then not always. It's like, okay, the game's actually a lot harder if you never picked Sophia. They tell you like, hey, we should go to this town, but you can just ignore their like suggestion for it and you just be fucked, right? And there's also ones like, hey, there's an elf with a scene with Ludensterg, so right, that makes sense because they're neighboring towns, right? It's only when the open world stuff ends is when you see the party like really interact with each other. Everybody has conversations like, holy shit, you finally realize there's other people around you, right? There's also times where it doesn't really matter unless you're doing missions out of order from the difficulty levels, where you can reveal things they're like, this shouldn't have happened right now. Like there's one scene where one character goes to do something alone because they don't want to reveal their true identity, right? But if you mess up the order, his identity was already revealed in a different town. It's like, why do you have to hide it? Well, you already know. But if you do it in the right play order, you wouldn't know. Like, you know specifically, because like, of course you're from here. It's like, no shit. But everybody in your party, you're like in the plot, you're not supposed to know. Which doesn't make complete sense because there's like 2 nobles like, yeah, no shit, I know who you are, but for some reason they don't realize either. It's like, all right. And the other issue with the open world is just like on its own nature, nothing really flows plot wise, and there's no chapters. The rest of the games have like a bunch of chapters, so there's always like a goal per chapter that you know what you have to do or what you have to overcome. There's one dilemma that happens right here and we have to figure out how to fix it. And this one's like, there's nothing. The overlying plot point in this one only starts like rather late in the open world stuff. I think it's based on like how far a town gets completed, and it gets completed by doing missions respective to that place. But because of all the level thing, right, it's like you kind of complete most of the towns at the same time. So out of nowhere, you're getting a lot of plot stuff. But before then, there's like nothing. they could have handled it in a way where like whatever town you pick first would be the chapter, and then the missions will scale lower for you to complete it. Or rather, I guess a better way would be like there's a halfway cutoff point where like, oh, here's the character, here's the dilemma, let's fix it. Okay, you're joined the party, which is some for like your daughter's like one like that, but it's very short. But it's like if it's just longer, it's like, all right, you're in the party, all right, cool, now let's do another like 2 or 3 missions within the party, we're like friends now, all right, cool, now we can go to the next town. And then after like chapter 6 or whatever, after we go to like every town, now let's go back to these old towns because there's new missions to do, there's like new dilemmas happening. It's like, all right, let's fix it again, and that'd be better instead of doing like level 6, all right, there's a level 8, all right, there's a level 5, okay, cool, oh man, this is level 20 now, I guess I won't come back for this town for a while, and then you come, it's like, all right, this is kind of ass. So like I think I just said, right, it's like how they handle it now, each town kind of shares around the same level. So like town A has like, here's level 3 mission, and town B and C have like level 6 mission, so you know the order. In town A, the town D has level 8, so obviously you go to town A and do their mission, but the follow-up mission is like level 8 as well, so now it's like you're not at that level anymore, so now you have to skip that town even though it's a sequential thing to go through. And I don't remember the specifics, but I think there was one time where I had to jump like, hey, there's a level 13 mission, and then go straight to like level 24. It's like, what the fuck happened? Or it was like level 11 to level 23, something like that, right? And I think there was another one was like, hey, there's a level 16 mission, and the next one was level 28. It's like, holy, bye town, I'm not gonna see you for a while. Basically, you're always jumping between towns and you're doing like a lot of random shit, and the kingdom just doesn't seem to notice you until like halfway through all the towns are completed. It's like, oh hey, yeah, oh cool, shit, things are actually happening. The best part of this section outside of like the character events is just all the fan service from all the different lands. There's a lot in like Eudora where they're just like, remember this thing? Or events where you're thinking like, wait, the stuff they're warning about actually happens in Alchemy Meister, and that's pretty cool. And there's also parts where like, oh, I remember this, like factions of these specific gods. And I remember these elves talking about this oath from other games. And I think I mentioned it before, it's like a prequel to Alchemy Meister, and I assumed it was like 100 years back, but it's a lot closer. That feels like 10 or 20 years, like holy shit, what happened? Which is kind of dumb in a way, where it's like, how did everybody forget about this kingdom so fast? Holy shit, my voice is already dying. Mark is the main character and probably the weakest out of the bunch in terms of like both combat and personality. He's just a forger man that's charismatic and wants to help the people that are in need. There's like instances where he becomes interesting, or sometimes even like a mega teen edgy depending on the ending. The main character being the weakest is kind of normal in these games, except normally they're like used for things outside of combat. Either they buff the units around them or like have like specific buffs for the units, right? And sometimes they have like the highest defense, and you just use them as a tank. And other times in like other utility titles, they're normally used as the unit to like mining or gathering spots or like opening chests and shit like that. None of that can be used to describe Mark. His defense stat is actually above average, but it also feels like he's the guy that gets one shot all the fucking time in my team. It's like, oh, you're dead again, holy shit. His skill modifiers aren't great. He gets one good skill way too late in the game, where you either have it like right at the end or not at all. Unless you grind it in like 3/4 of one route, then you have it. But it's still like, it's not even amazing at that time. It's just like, all right, it's okay. Like, I'm pretty sure in my playthrough, I didn't have it until the second run. What's funny is everybody gets like a final weapon where you hit like level 50 with either a good passive or something that's kind of like whatever, except Mark, who gets a Slayer passive that only works against one unit, a unit that you only fight against once, and is at that point like 8 levels under you and no longer a threat. It's like, wow, amazing passive, Mark. It's like those games where you get the ultimate weapon from killing the hidden super boss that's way harder than everything else in the game. It's like, what the fuck am I gonna use this for? It's like a collection thing more than anything else. He's good against flying units, and that's about it. And really, that's just because the other 2 units that are good against are like worse than him because their stats are just lower. It's just funny you're forced to use them in like 2 of the harder fights in the game to unlock some H scenes, and it just makes him look even more shit than he already is. Like, holy, why do I have to use Mark? He's so ass. Like, there's these passwords like follow Mark, and most of the characters eventually get these things, and it gives like each one like plus 10 damage or something, and you're like, all right, that's something. And it is for like maybe early to mid game, but until after that, it's like, yeah, right, it's not worth to have this character in here just to give every unit like plus 10 attack. There's a small like strategy mid game where 4 or like 5 of your units have this immediate attack. It's like a swift step or a swift strike, like from Pokemon, or same kind of thing. And the use of that outside of that is like the final hit before a team wipe is that their combo feature. And the use of that outside of like, hey, I'm gonna die next turn, so I might as well do like all these final hits to do some more damage before I have the full like party revive or something, right? The whole thing's like there's this combo feature in the game where everything's based on your wait time. So if let's say every character has like a wait time of 10, it'll be like a 5 combo, right? Normally that's not the case, and they give you like some leeway. So it's like if you have like a 4, 7, and a 9, I think that still counts. Yeah, I think it's like a 3 difference over that the combo dies, right? So what you can do is everybody uses like their swift strike things, and it's like, all right, I'm doing a lot of damage. But by the end of the time, like, you know, 30 hours in, 40 hours in or whatever, it's like that's no longer useful because one character's such a beast and she's so slow, but her damage is so high that it doesn't really matter about these combo things. Like, yeah, I'm doing these plus 10, plus 10k, plus 20k, and like she does 80k. It's like, fuck you, I don't care about this. It's to the point where I only use this like strategy to get this check mark thing in this Forager handbook that's hidden. They didn't even tell you about this, so you have to look for it, and it gives you like extra money, and like it gives you the bronze keys and silver keys and shit like that, like the blueprints, right? You have to do that one for the gold key. The gold key fucking sucks, right? Everything that it unlocks is like shit that you already had in your first run or something. It's like, this is useless. Holy, it was nothing good. It's like, who designed it? Who made these placements? These are awful. So, you know, I'm sure there's a min-max here and there where there's a perfect combo timing where you can have your whole party member doing 5-team combos all the time, and what happens is like, hey, Mark and Ruili have this like passive that your combo's plus 20% stronger than the rest, so you want to use them for like a finale or something. Like, all right, I get it. For the most part, you can just ignore this feature altogether. Ruili is the other default character you start out with. He's Mark's partner that was born in like a different kingdom. It's kind of spoilers, but not really when you look at his clothes. Like, of course he's from Dämmerung, whatever you pronounce it, a kingdom in the east that's more important, Alvina. He's more of an exposition character because Mark is rather ignorant outside of anything that's not related to his job. He's also kind of like a media character in terms of explaining away that everything's working for Mark because he's unusually charismatic and the rest of the team just like agrees in like different scenes and stuff like that. He's less tanky than Mark, and I think his attack is always like minus 10 than what he has, right? He's meant to be one of those like evasion units if you set up the whole team for it. It's just that it takes a while and it just costs a lot more money, and he's better than Mark for the most part. He has the same like tag team buff. He has like a counter. He has like force heat, and that gives him like a decent amount of like, I think it's like 50% evasion chance or something. And then you can stack it with an item called like hidden, which raises your evasion some more, but I don't think it tells you, but I think it's like plus 5 or plus, I think it's like plus 5, right? But in New Game Plus, he also gets like revive, and I think that was like a 30% chance to revive once. And I think if you revive him with the item later, resets, but I'm not sure. The math is pretty busted because 30% is more like 50%. Like, there's a difference between combo 2 and combo 3, which is only, it goes from like 10%, 15%, or I think I had like combo 1 or 2 for a while, and it barely works. But this fucking boss with combo 3 works like every other turn. Like, fuck you. And it's always like the like AoE move that wipes half my team, or like barely. Sometimes like, oh, I did so much damage and I did like 1,000 damage instead of the 2,000 damage, so I barely survived the combo and everybody in my team dies. Like, bullshit. He doesn't have the combo passive. I think I called combo the feature, but the feature's like tag team feature. This one's a called combo, right? It was just an example. He doesn't have it, but he does have a skill modifier of like 280, one of his later skills. And in comparison, the strongest move Mark has is at like level 51 is a 180. It's like, holy shit, your ass. I'm pretty sure this is the strongest modifier in the game, except one other move, I think from Rolin. Usually it's like a 230 to 250. The problem is his stats are just okay with like a 193 where I'm at, where there's 2 other units that are both over 400. It's like, holy shit. Even if their modifier is only like 240 or 250, they're double attack already, right? Sophia is a designated healer that has like crack healing numbers. Imagine almost never needing to use something stronger than heal 1. She's the gentle character that's kind of like the main girl of the group. Nothing to the level like Thea from Castlemeister, but she's still more important than a good chunk of the cast by the end of the game, and she's like the main focus on the true route. She's pretty naive for a good part of her events, but somehow works out. And there's times where she lights a fire up their asses, and so all these townspeople are like, you know, dilly-dallying. They're like, holy shit, yeah, let's protect the town. And that's what Sophia did. It's like, all right, this is awesome. This was a good scene. They finally did their damn jobs, right? Her damage early on is actually pretty decent, but really, she's only there to heal. I mentioned it before, but I think she's one of the main reasons why the game's balance is just shit, because her healings are so damn high. If the healing was like a lot more mediocre, then a lot of the damage the enemies do probably would be like toned down and you don't have to grind as much, but what can you do, right? A lot of it's because the enemy units love attacking the back line a lot, so there's times where you're just kind of fucked. Some bosses have AoE moves, like I said before, where just, depending on the combo move, you just die immediately. It's like, oh, this is ass. By mid-game, she's not that great because either nothing can hurt your party or they're getting one-shot. And it's like, all right, sometimes if Iron Wall happens and she survives, she can do like a mass revive, right? And it's like, all right, that helped. That was nice, but it costs a lot of MP, so you have to use an item to like restore MP or some shit like that. Otherwise, she gets these like team party buffs way too late in the game, and until then, you only have like a single unit buffs where you might as well just use it on like one guy and just forget about it, or like completely, or just keep on stacking that one guy that's like your nuker, right? Instead of doing like your own attack, because you don't have no modifiers, just the normal attack. Everything you do is like healing or like pure or like antidotes or buffing, right? You don't do anything else. Her ultimate weapon is also on crap, where her basic attack turns to like a free full team like heal 1. It's like, holy shit, this is amazing, because otherwise you have to use like 10 MP to use it. Other than that, she has like the skill that can reduce or completely wipe enemy buffs, but for some reason this fucking thing can be resisted sometimes. The main issue is this is useful like 1% of the time. Like there's like 2 bosses and there's some interactions where like, hey, this guy uses the buff and you can take it out, and because I was under leveled, it actually helped. Otherwise, not useful. I only fought 2 of the super bosses, and also they don't buff themselves there, so not useful for there either. The description on it is also like kind of misleading, where it says like it purifies the dead, and I swear I killed one of the dark spirits with it, but only like once, and it never happened again. So I don't know if it's like a Hama / like Mudo thing for Persona, where it's like it's a chance but it doesn't automatically do it. And I'm just like, nah, this is bullshit. I saw one guy die. Was it just like delirious? What happened? Charlotte is like the hyperactive mage of the group that's also from like the noble family. I always think her name's Charlotta. It's not, it's Charlotte. Except she doesn't really care about that and wants to incorporate like sorcery into the process, where creating equipment to make like them stronger and shit, and to prove like sorcery has a lot of uses and is not just for artisans that can do shit. It's like, nah, man, I'm also good. I'm also useful. And the reason a lot of that is because like, yeah, a lot of the nobles after they graduated don't really care about the sorcery thing. And she's like, why not? This is so cool. And like, okay, yeah, there's the artisans. The artisans are like the crafters, alchemisters, a mix of everything. So he's like alchemist, like part forager and artisan and magic and all that. And she runs things like head first a lot. She's kind of like a cheery meathead, even though she's very smart. She's really a useful early game and gets shit on by mid game and up, or maybe let's say the last 10% of a finale, and then after that, anything else and every other route, she's as useless no matter what. I think she's one of the characters that will level or like benefit the most being completely the same level, because she will get nuked all the fucking time. I think she has like an aggro rate of like 300%, but she's always the first one getting targeted. so yeah, she's like more there to like wipe out basic mobs, but she has like AoE spells or like raise drop rates if you're farming for like a specific rare drop. Otherwise, her defenses and HP are just too damn low, alongside having like pretty poor ass modifiers, where even end game stuff from like level 50, I think her highest is like 180, unless you have a death wish and you put her in the front or in the front line, and she's like, I have a 220. It's like, you're gonna die immediately. And it doesn't really even help, because I think her stats are also like 180 or something. It's like, it's not very good. It feels like any character that has like a rapier just kind of sucks in this game. Like even the next one is the Rolin, right? You can find Rolin as like a bard at the start, but come on, you look at this guy, right? He's supposed to be noble in disguise. And it's like, oh no, I spoiled something that gets revealed later, except it's at the same mission where you meet him, and it's like, all right, you kind of know what's happening. Just the rest of the team doesn't notice it. He excels at like as an informant and gets like info all over the place. He has more things going on for him, and he probably splits the most depending on the route outside of like Mark, right? But Rolin is early on and Mark is in the epilogue. Or I wouldn't even say early on. I would say it's still late game, but not epilogue, right? I think I just can't remember. I feel like Rolin should have been an Alchemeister for like how important he is for the true route, but maybe he is and he just changed his name or something. It'd be hilarious. He was like the bartender that's like, he has his own sprite. He's important to a level, right? It's like, maybe, but I really doubt it. It would be funny though. Anyways, Rolin is a bow and rapier user. He's kind of shit early game. He actually is really shit. He's kind of the hybrid character that can do water magic, but also shoot down flying units and stuff like that. He has like he has a lot of random like poison causing skills that aren't worth it, and where it reduces like their accuracy sometimes as well. And he's like the inverse of Charlotte, where he's just overshadowed by her until late games, and I don't know, he's a beast. His HP is a lot better than hers. His defense is way better than hers, and he unlocks a lot of better moves with like high modifiers. I think he also has like a 280 and he has like a 250 as well. It just, he can't really compete with the top two unless the boss is a fire type. type, but from what I recall, the only boss that it matters like one at the new game plus thing, and that's it. That's like his main. It's like, holy shit, Rolin, you're finally useful, right? Technically, in like terms of single unit damage, he's probably better than her in magic as well, since he has like a 280 modifier magic skill. It's just his magic stat is subpar, but I think it still will outdamage her, so Charlotte is fucked. Charlotte does give you MP, which is still kind of useless because you can just use an item that will give you more. So, okay. Ludensterg is an artisan that works in Ruili. He sets a lot of things in motion that'll happen in Alchemymeister since it's the same town. You never see his wife in person, but it's Roseanne, I forgot her name, the one that runs the guild in Alchemymeister. He's normally a bro and tries to make the town work because he didn't want to be like working as a noble and just getting stuff handed to him. He's like, no, I want to do my own thing. And that's like a theme in here where it's like, hey, we should like try to be our own person or like our own career, not just follow in their footsteps all the time. But that's just like, hey, if you want to, if you really like the safety thing, you can do that too. It's part of the plot, right? So he wants to be an artisan and made some like stopgaps that you have to fix in the sequel. It's funny, there's a lot of cool parts in it, right? The guy's over like 400 attack power by the time I finished the game, and while he doesn't have the best modifiers for his hammer weapon, he does have like a 250 for his lance, which is good. The hammer is mainly for like defense down, debuffs are like an AoE attack, which is not great, but still okay. He's the only one with Battle Commander. It's a passive you see a lot in the other titles, and eventually you do get an armor that gives it to you, so it stops being cool like after that, but until then it's really cool. It gives you like plus 10 attack power and like some defense, and I think you get to like Battle Commander 2, which I think gives you like 15 or something. But until when you get Battle Commander 3, you probably have the armor and it's not as cool anymore, right? He also has Protector. It's another passive that's honestly not as great as it looks. He'll take damage for others, but only if they're under 30%. So it doesn't matter in a lot of cases because half the time you're going to get one shot, and it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, he's going to die. If he had over 30%, then he will just die anyway. It's like, all right, the passive kind of sucks. Though it did save a couple boss fights. When you're normally leveled, I think it's a good passive, but I was just not. I think he has the strongest physical defense in the game, but his magic defense is laughable. But honestly, not a lot of enemy units use magic all that often. This asshole from like level 14 used magic way more often than everything else in the fucking game, except for like maybe one of the final bosses, because that was like her thing. It's like doing magic, right? He also has like this do or die passive that another character also has that's pretty OP in other games, but not really in this one. Unless you're the fucking enemy, then it's amazing. It's like it buffs all your stats like 10% if you're under 30%, and then like I think it goes to 30% if you're in 10%, which, you know, for us, for party members, like I'm probably gonna die anyway. But the other one's like, holy shit, you just raised 30% of your stats, and now, you know, it could have been something where you're taking like 20 damage or 100 damage, and now you're taking like 2000 damage. Like, holy shit, what happened? Thankfully, there's like these accessories you can equip that disable the passive, but only for the unit that has it equipped. So it's kind of ass at that point, but otherwise, like, yeah, just buy 5 of them. Just like, haha, stupid ass new game plus 3 boss. You can't do your stupid shit anymore. Celes is the elf of the group. She's the one that covers spirits and their like behaviors alongside anything related to the elves. Honestly, the elf characters are kind of standardized on these games to be this like character all the fucking time. She's the other cheery character that wants to help like the neighboring human town and starts learning about what they want to do, and they learn like a lot of commerce things. And it's like one of her stupid like longest event sequences is her just trying to get pepper for food because she's like it's really expensive due to its rarity because pepper doesn't like grow in that land or something, right? She's like the last rapier slash bow user, and she's also pretty fucking weak after like early game, and even then it's just because her wind magic was pretty much fine. The bigger reason to use her is like if you want to have like a full evasion team type of thing, because she buffs both dodges, or at least I think that's what the second stat does. I never really like learned. I know that's also like responsible for like dodging status effects, I believe, but it could be for both. The thing is that buff is kind of shit. Each stack only gives like 2 more agility, so it's a total of like 10 extra dodge. It's like, wow. So it's shit unless you gear everything into evasion, but if you couple it with like Alvina's accuracy down, or with that and plus an evasion team, it can work. That is, if your full team just doesn't get nuked immediately because you're under leveled, so it's still shit. Alvina is either my favorite out of the playable cast or like the runner-up. She's kind of a battle-hungry psycho that's always ready to like cause shit. She wants to be the strongest warrior, but she knows that she has her limitations and like dark magic is like what was available to her. But she's constantly trying to fight like tougher enemies to make herself grow even more, even if it means like skirting around the edge of what's expected or of like the laws and shit. She's like Kampachi from Bleach, is very funny. The reason why she even joins the group is she already killed like most of her employer's enemies, and she's like, hey, Mark's eventually gonna do a lot of random shit that'd be dangerous, so there's gonna be a lot of strong enemies. I'm gonna go with him because it'll be really hype. She has a softer side, and I'd probably put her at like the higher end of the age scenes. I think she is my favorite, but I have to think about it. She's one of the hardest to finish all our like character events, considering there's like 2 or 3 fights, but I'm pretty sure one of them is plot mandatory. The last one is the 1v1 where you need to stack all your best armors and the accessory to reduce dark magic, because otherwise she's gonna nuke your ass. But like the rest of these 1v1s, they power up and halfway through their HP, and she was doing like 1 to 20 damage, and out of nowhere she's doing 1 to 3k damage, whereas she only has 900 HP max. It's great. It's one of those where I was just really underleveled again, and I just kept reviving. It's like, fuck you, give me my H scene, right? In terms of gameplay, she's in the middle. She can lower the enemy's attack power, and it's not guaranteed, and it happens a lot more like mid-game, but I think by the end, I think they kind of resist that pretty hard. These skills cost a lot of MP, and you need like a specialized like team to make her work. She also has an ability to lower defense, but a lot of units already do that, so it's not very worth it. It's just more trouble than she's worth. She can equip the heavier armor, but if you're using her, then you're probably trying to run evasion for it. But from what I can tell, most of anything difficult is resistant to attack down, but massive accuracy down may be still effective. I haven't tested all that much. She's kind of like a hybrid. Her attack and defense aren't the highest. And even at level 50, she doesn't really have a move with like huge modifiers. Basically, you think she's like more of a frontliner, but the further you go in, the more it makes sense for her to be just a mage in the backline. Like her best damage is from the dark magic shit. I think it's like the same limitations at Erness, where it's like, yeah, her magic is probably stronger, but you're restricted to just dark magic, where Erness is holy magic, right? Erness is the paladin of the group. She's kind of clumsy here and there until she starts fighting. She becomes like an Amazon Valkyrie. She takes the place of the usual angel unit you get in these series. She's like human, but still in the same like light god Marsteria faction. If you play Final Fantasy X, consider a character like Waka when she sees the Albeds, right? Every time some shit is happening in town, she's like, I bet it's one of those dirty Dark God followers. Fuck them. How dare they try polluting these people's minds. But to be fair, they usually end up being like the villains in these series anyway, so she's kind of right. She probably has the worst character events pacing of the entire cast. Her events just vanish halfway through the open world section until you finish like a story event where you basically, after the story event, you can just start a route. You just have to leave, and it's like, oh, now they pop up again. So, and then there's like 3 events or something after that. It's like, why are they so late? There's technically one other character that's like that, but at least that character is like the final character you can unlock, and it's like right at the end as well, so it makes sense. Like, well, yeah, she wasn't there, so of course you can't do the events if she doesn't exist yet. But I'll cover that in the spoilers, right? Funny enough, neither Ernest's defense or attack is amazing, and the paladin, of course, she can have high defense and she doesn't, but she has moves that have like high modifiers, but there's always holy based, right? I think there's like one move that's okay that's not holy based, otherwise it is. But the thing is, like, it's a high modifier, but by the end the ultimate weapon's also holy based, so the skill becomes holy based. Luckily, most of the like final end bosses are like dark based, so she's useful in all of them, except for like the bad ends where you're not fighting the dark ones, right? But early on, she has like a party-wide skill that buffs like both defenses, but honestly doesn't do much until like late game, where it can see some use if you're level up high enough not to die in one hit. The way the buffs work is that every buff has a level assigned to it, but if you can stack them and raise the levels. I believe 5 is the cap, right? So Ernest's defense buff gives you like a whole party, a 2 stack of defenses, and the first stack is 10%, and each one is 5 after, so it becomes like 130% in the end, right? And in the beginning, it's like, well, you have 100 defense, it's kind of shit. But by the end, you have like 200 if you're going with like maximum defense for a lot of these characters, so it becomes useful. To the point where you can like almost remove Sophia, but not really. You have to be really high level for that. So it's more of a win, even harder button than actually trying to survive. Now, if you actually spent time grinding to remove the one-shots, it's a good spell, but otherwise, She has skills that have a high modifier, but her stats are also kind of average, or rather, there's 2 specific characters that are just way more imbalanced alongside like NG plus characters, but she's like the mascot that's always strong throughout the games anyway, so like it makes sense. But in the end, like, she's a fine character if you want to use her. It's like, it's fine, but it's I think she's like 240 or something when the other ones are like 400. It's like, come on, man. Vera's my other favorite of the playable cast. She's from the Amazon tribe where men aren't really like second-class citizens. They get captured to create more offspring and they just get punted out. And Mark asks if if the men even try to defend themselves or like from getting captured or even fight back. She's like, nah, they're pretty willing. It's basically the Futurama meme with their own Amazonian tribe. There was a thing where like if a man is well liked, he can be considered king. But the king still gets no rights. He can just bang the other Amazons if they're up to it, and if the primary one that like owns him also is okay with it. If she's not, then the other ones can't have him. They're also kind of needed for this ritual to climb the other mountain due to like beliefs and shit, and that was like fucking them up in the plot where it's like, well, a lot of things got invaded and they're all like infested, and we can't clean it up because you have no fucking guys. Vera is more of an in-between of her tribe and the outside. She felt there was more to do than what the tribe was doing, and she got really into like reading and experiencing other people's cultures. So it's kind of like Celestravi, but for the Amazons, but done better because she's not just a foodie. It's like, well, Celes has more going on, but down the years, I'm just gonna remember that she was a foodie and that's it. There was also a scene where she got invited herself to Mark's house and she's like, well, you accepted, and that's the signal that we're okay to bang. It's like, holy shit. It's a character where she doesn't deny where she's from and still respects the traditions, but understands that little things here and there can be updated to be better, or they're going to be left behind sooner or later. The rest of the tribe eventually warms up to Mark as well, since he keeps offering solutions or asking questions only to be met up with like attacks that normally kill like normal people, but he's all like, he just dodges it, and they're like, holy shit, look at that, he didn't die. Finally, strong male, we will make strong offspring. And then Mark's like trying to run away because like, nah, I still have other things to do. There's a final fight here too for an H scene that's kind of repeat with Vera stuff where he still avoids it, but she like offers him a drink at her own home for this Amazon, and it's like, all right, that's cool. And she's like, well, you accepted going to my home, therefore we are also going to go bang. It's like, holy shit. Vera is probably the second character I like the most from the main cast, but mainly because half the time she doesn't give a shit for a good while, but she warms up to Mark and sees what he's trying to do. It's like, all right, he's pretty cool. Like, she gets him and stops thinking he's just kind of a weirdo. Vera is the second powerhouse, but actually the best. Her main fault is she can't have the best armor, so her defense isn't amazing. I think it's like 145 or 150 right at the end. Still better than a lot of the mages, but still this lady's doing like 80k damage. Like, holy shit, you won her anyway. Only for the like super bosses where you're still under leveled, well, she was always going to get shot and always dying. So it's like, alright, she's not very useful here, but otherwise she's great. With just straight up numbers, she's actually better than you, Shelly, if it's like a single target thing. She has a few skills that cause defense down, but overall she's like a damage dealer coupled with like high HP, and that's all she does. These are just minor little things that I found funny. So there's like two important characters in the Knights, Leonard and Walter. And Leonard sounds like a drunk, angry, like 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Walker's just like a budget Shinji from Face Day Night, if Shinji was like actually competent. Basically just like a really petty asshole. The king is like a budget Kinzo from Umineko, and half the time I found him pretty funny because most of these characters have like no nuance and they're all like just have this one trait and they work their best with it, and that's it. It's like how I found Dio really funny in the first season because who the hell just burns their like stepbrother's dog for basically no reason? Dude's like, nah, you got my shoes dirty, time to wreck this town. It's like, what the, why? Then you have Rudolph and Lucrezia that are just like two massive haters towards each other. They're both leading different towns with ports, and Rudolph is part of like Masterius and Lucrezia is with the Vashtal, one of the major like light and dark gods respectively. Like, they're both petty, but Lucrezia is even more so. It's like, holy crap, she's why? There's a couple of other characters I'm skipping. I want to say like Oshnor's family or whatever we pronounce it, which is one of the villains in like the, I forgot her name, but like the mage from Alchemy Meister, but I might be wrong. I think he's like from that family. And that Mieda is hot and the main bad for a good chunk of the game. Well, kind of. It's technically still the king that just got pushed too far by her and he's just going crazy. And that's like her main thing. But a lot of times they're just like reoccurring things with these games anyways. Like, yeah, they're always from Vashtal's, like they're evil people. The main bad is usually not human, just who you go up against. Most of the time it's like a very humanoid type of being. It's usually like a social structure that the world is based on and you just kind of levy it more towards your side. And it's not like they can just destroy it because the gods that benefit from it would just rather nuke the humans if there's like no benefits for them. They only let the humans be because their faith increases their own powers. Basically, you're fighting something closer to like a proxy than anything else in all these games. So yeah, this is Future Me. Apparently this is way too long. I'm making a second part for it.